You are listening to the Aging Options podcast with elder law attorney Rajiv Nagaich. As the best-selling author of Your Retirement, Dream or Disaster, and host of 2 hit public television specials, Rajiv Nagaich has emerged as a retirement planning thought leader known for his willingness to disrupt the status quo. In this weekly podcast, Rajiv Nagaich offers piercing insights about the hidden traps in traditional retirement planning advice, along with straight talk about the problems during retirement that money, investments, estate plans, and insurance products don't address. If your retirement plan has been all about saving money, creating an estate plan, and buying long-term care insurance, what Rajiv Nagaich says may surprise you.
Hey, welcome to another edition of Aging Options, the podcast. This is Rajiv Nagaich. I'm an elder law attorney, and recently I just dealt with this absolutely bizarre case that applies virtually to just about everyone in America who is growing old. And I want to kind of share that with you. And so here's the story. I'll give you the setup of the case, and then we will talk about the nuances of it. So here's an older couple. The husband is about in his early 90s. His wife is in the late 80s. The wife is having dementia. Dad, he is trying to take care of mom alone in their own home. And he has incurable cancer. He's got maybe about 2-3 years to live. They've got 2 daughters. Both belong to mom. This is a second marriage. So dad and mom got married when the kids were in their teens. So the dad really didn't have too much to do with raising the children. So it turns out that when mom has dementia, dad's trying to take care of him and his own health is waning. The girls take the attitude that mom is not safe and dad is doing things that he should not be doing. And I'm sure there's a lot more history to all of this, right? Your dad probably is trying to do it a little bit too much. The girls are saying getting caregivers. He probably doesn't want to get caregivers for any number of reasons, etc. By the time I get involved in this case, dad had come to me along with some family members, and they were trying to explore what will it take for dad to continue to keep mom in their own home. So I built the plan, which is what we do in our law firm. We take a look at the health issues. First of all, where is mom today? Where likely will she be 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years down the street? What does dad's health look like? We look at that and see what will need to be done to go ahead and keep them safe wherever they want to be. Second thing we take a look at is housing. What does the house look like? Is this age-friendly? Can you actually access the care in this home? If this is not age-friendly, will you have to go to a certain place? We look at that issue. Then we take a look at finances. In finances, most of us work hard all our lives, and we just think that we have lots of money will be okay. And in this case, this is roughly about a $1.8, $1.9 million estate. And so I think there's plenty of money up here. They should be able to be okay. But just in case, if mom has dementia, she lives many, many years, that maybe that money could run out. Possibly, conceivably, an outside chance, money could run out. And then we take a look at the legal planning. Well, who have you appointed as the agents, et cetera, and how much do they understand what their roles, et cetera, are? And so clearly in here, they had done the planning and they had named one of the daughters to be the agent. They had named each other as the agents and they had named the daughter. So far, this is what I'm exploring. So everything is kind of going okay. They come to the office and I set it out. I said, look, what you need is really a full-time caregiver. Your own health is the husband. Your own health is not doing well. And you need to have 24/7 care. I think the children in the family, they are right about this issue. And so he says, sure, well, yeah, let's get to it. And how are we going to go pull this all together? So we came up with quite an elaborate plan. And then I took this plan. This is they came to see me sometime in December. In January, I went down to their house. I brought every family member together and I laid it out for them. This is what needs to happen. So once I leave there, everyone's nodding their head. Yeah, we'll do everything that we need to do. Everyone's nodding their head. And then it turns out nobody is doing anything with the information. I'm giving introductions to caregiving agencies, to case managers, people who can pull it all together. Everyone's saying, yeah, we'll contact them. Nothing happens. And then one day, mom ends up going outside the house. She falls down. 911 is called, go down to the hospital. The husband is in the hospital. The daughters end up in the hospital. And in this hospital stay, the daughters convince the hospital not to send mom back home, but send her down to some adult family home. Mom ends up in the adult family home. Now, mind you, nothing has been done to provide the care coming down to the house. The adult family home is costing this family $11,000 per person to be in the adult family home. Dad goes to visit his wife in the adult family home and says, well, I want to be with my wife. I don't want to be living alone in my own home. So sure, you can move in another $11,000. That means $22,000 a month for mom and dad to be together in this adult family home. 2 different rooms, not even in the same room, 2 different rooms. But they could at least be under the same roof. And dad reluctantly said, okay, well, I'll go about doing it. Dad stays one night. The next morning, mom wakes up and says, I want to go home. I want to go home. Mind you, diminished capacity, but she wants to go back home. The husband ends up calling me and says, what are the laws around? I bet you there are some laws around this issue, whether I can take my wife away from this place when everyone is saying she needs to be in the place. I said, look, if there is no guardianship, there is no law that says that you have to stay in that adult family home. You can take your wife in the car and you can bring her back home. He said, okay. Next thing you know, he puts his wife in the car. Everyone's screaming. Nobody wants him to go, and he takes his wife, puts her in the car, brings her back home. He brings her back home. He calls me and says, look, nobody in my family is helping me. Why don't you help me get all these caregivers and whatever you need to do? And immediately we jumped on the bandwagon and we got the caregivers to come back and get everything taken care of. For about, initially, the first time when we went for the caregivers, it cost us about $18,000 a month. Why? Because we went through a care agency. And we were able to talk the care agency down to pay on a flat fee, not on an hourly basis. We got that done. And then after that, we started looking for direct caregivers, and we called an employment agency locally that helps families find direct caregivers. And for about $13,000 a month, we were able to bring both of them 24/7 care in their own home. The point that I make is this: these are not untoward things that are going to probably happen to us as we retire. This could just easily be me another 15, 20, 30 years in the future. This simply could be you if you're in that situation. Why do these bad things happen? The word perspective. Think about the word perspective. In this situation, you've got a family, well-meaning children, there's no doubt in my mind. They're looking at mom somewhat not safe in their own home. They probably are trying to work with dad, who is not being very cooperative because he is bullheaded. He wants to live out his life in his own home. So dad is not cooperating. Mom is somewhat ill and she is not safe. Where are they going to get the information about how to best take care of mom? Well, they're going to go down to the doctors, the neighbors, the friends, and everyone in that age category. A 55-year-old looking at an 88-year-old lady with dementia, having fallen down. The first gut reaction will be, oh, mom is not safe. I got to keep her safe. And their image, and in America, older people who are not safe, they can be made safe, 100% safe, if they just move to an adult family home, group home, nursing home, care facility, somewhere like that. So that's the perspective with which the children are approaching this issue. Get into dad's head. Early 90s, he is watching his wife also fail in health. He knows he needs to do something. He's looking at the same situation, probably saying something to the effect that, yeah, I will agree with you that if you put me into a group home, I'm 100% safe. But I'm 500% miserable. And looking at it from his perspective, most people in retirement will agree and say, I'm willing to sacrifice a measure of my safety for 100% of my happiness in my own home. Why do 70% Americans fail to live out their life in their own home? Because think about how the laws are created that address this issue. Who creates the laws? Legislatures. Your senators, representatives, both at the federal and the state government. Typically, how old are these people who are sitting in legislatures? Oh, probably in their 40s to 60s. Who will then enforce these laws that are passed by legislatures? Judges. How old are the judges who enforce these laws? Oh, probably about 40 to 60, maybe 70. Who advocates for you? What about the lawyers who are going to help you? How old are the lawyers? Oh, between 40 and 60. A whole system is designed to be against the older aged people. Because till you are 80, till you are 90, you don't know what it feels to be 90. So we're making laws, we are enforcing laws, we are advocating laws, and we are creating a system that is built from the lens of a 55-year-old, but we are implementing it on people who are 85 years old. So when you look at your life and you're planning and you're saying, what is the chance that if I end up in the nursing home, I'll be able to come back home? Why is it that 70% of Americans fail to do that? It's because of this perspective. At the planning stages, it's far more important that every legal document that you create, all the planning that you do, must be done with a measure of caution that you need to put in your perspective on all the legal documents, which is what your agents will need to work with. But even more important, it's not enough to put it in the documents. It's more important that you sit down as a family and you share this perspective and then give the children resources to work with. Left alone, the daughters were watching their mom fall ill. They wanted to make her safe. But if they, many years in the past, were told that the day that you start feeling concerned about her safety, you're supposed to call this nurse and this nurse will help you figure out how to bring the care at home, I bet you the girls would have had a very different attitude about taking care of the mom. This is all doable, but not when you're doing traditional planning. You need to do very different planning. Thank you for watching. If this makes sense to you, share this with some friends, particularly if you're retired and going deeper into retirement. These are things that you will not find anywhere else other than Aging Options, the podcast.
Hello, producer Alec here. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Aging Options, the podcast. If you would like to know more about this topic and many other topics surrounding retirement, aging, and how to ensure that you're able to live out the retirement you deserve, please head on over to AgingOptions.com. If you want a comprehensive, deep dive into planning your retirement and don't want to wait until next week's podcast, I highly recommend Rajiv's best-selling book, Your Retirement, Dream or Disaster. You can find both soft and hardcover editions on the AgingOptions.com website. Please follow us on social media at Aging Options. If you want to see this podcast in video form, you can find us on YouTube, also at Aging Options. Until next week, age on.